Hello, you marvelous people. I'm Eli Brown. I'm the author of Oddity, and today we're going to be making sauerkraut. Sauerkraut is a traditional fermented vegetable. It's similar to other fermented vegetables in different cultures like kimchi, and to make it, all you need is cabbage, salt, and a clean container. Like today I'm using a mason jar. So to begin, you're going to chop your cabbage. You can make it thin, you can make it chunky, it's up to you. I like throw all of the cabbage into a bowl and mix in your salt and really start to massage it. Now I'm using, for a decently heavy head of cabbage, I'm using 1.5 tablespoons of salt. Some people like to weigh their cabbage, and they will, if they've weighed their cabbage in grams, they'll do 2% the weight of the cabbage in salt. It's not an exact science. Sauerkraut is very forgiving, and once you've chopped your cabbage, put it in the bowl, added your salt, you're going to start massaging the heck out of it. Really just go crazy in there, shake your hands off and go do something else for a half hour, come back and massage it again. Mix in other ingredients if you want, they're entirely optional. Today I'm going to put in some carrot because I think it's pretty. Now I'm going to take a minute and show you how to peel garlic. There's hundreds of hours of videos on the internet of people with clever hacks for peeling garlic, but it's not difficult. So what you want to do is, with dry hands, hold the clove between your thumb and forefinger like this, and then just flex the clove. Just ignoring the paper, just kind of bend the clove a little bit back and forth, and the paper just comes right off. Okay, I wish I had learned this earlier in my life. It's kind of a magic trick. Again, you're just going to flex the clove of garlic, like that, back and forth, kind of ignoring the paper, and the paper will just slough off. You can show your parents this, and it'll blow their minds. I'm going to throw that right in whole. You can chop the garlic if you want, and again, garlic is entirely optional. Having added all the salt, having massaged the heck out of it for a while until you can squeeze water out of it, then you're going to pack it into a jar. Don't be afraid to make a mess. You're going to make a mess. Start putting it into your mason jar. If your hand fits in the jar, you can use your hand to push it down. You want to press all the air out. You can use a wooden tamper like this one. You can use a spoon. I've always been fascinated with the traditional ways of preserving food and keeping people nourished before the advent of things like refrigerators. The water, the brine that's come out of the cabbage has risen to the top, and that's exactly what we want. I'm going to try to push it a little bit more to get all the air out. Now the difference between a well-fermented food and something that's gone spoiled or rotten is that we've added salt, which encourages the right microbes. Those microbes will begin to change the pH until it's very acidic. That's the sour of sauerkraut. That is also protects against harmful microbes. And the last thing is that we've pushed all the oxygen out. So if you have really massaged your cabbage, but there still is not quite enough fluid in there, you can add a little bit of brine. So it's a cup of water with 1 tablespoon of salt mixed in. If you can find kosher salt or sea salt or something without iodine in it, that'll make it easier for the microbes to do their thing. So the last thing we're going to do is place a jar there, and the jar will serve to keep the cabbage below the level of the water, and that preserves the cabbage in there in the environment that we want it. I always keep a plate under this jar like this. When I set it out to ferment on the countertop or on a shelf, it's not going in the fridge. This is going to happen at room temperature, and it's going to take about 1 week or 2 weeks. It's up to you. Some people use airlocks like this one, which you can buy. It's entirely unnecessary. This process has been done for thousands of years, tens of thousands of years, by people who didn't have airlocks. So you can also use a plastic bag or filled with brine, or anything to keep the cabbage below the level of the water, as long as that thing is food safe. I'm just going to cover it now with a cloth to keep bugs and mold out. So bubbles of gas are going to form inside the sauerkraut, that's evidence that the microbes are doing exactly what we want. It's going to push the water up and out, which is why I keep that plate under there. And if you do find mold on the surface of the water, of the brine that's at the surface of this jar, that doesn't mean your food has spoiled. You can scrape that mold off, throw it away, sprinkle some salt on there just to be sure, and let it ferment some more. Come back to it in a week, come back to it in 2 weeks, depending on how sour you want it. Make sure that the brine is always above the cabbage. Don't let the brine overflow and dry up. If you need to, you can add some of that salt water like we talked about. That's how we make sauerkraut. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoy Oddity. See you soon.